If you want to eat like our ancient ancestors today, you might try a paleo diet. You eat a lean chicken breast, a pile of fresh spinach, and some almonds. You feel very healthy. But if you actually ate that meal on a January evening 30,000 years ago in Central Europe, you would die. In the brutal cold of the Ice Age, a diet of lean meat and fresh greens wasn't health food, it was a death sentence. To survive the winter, your body demanded the exact thing modern diets tell you to avoid: massive, sickening amounts of pure animal fat. Welcome to a real Ice Age winter dinner. It is January, roughly 30,000 years ago. You are living in what is now the Czech Republic or Ukraine during a period archaeologists call the Gravettian. When you feel cold today, you walk over to a wall and push a button. The room warms up. But in the deep past, your furnace was your stomach. Just standing outside in the bitter, freezing wind of the Mammoth steppe burns fuel at a terrifying rate. To keep your core temperature high enough to survive, you don't need 2,000 calories a day. You need 4,000, maybe 5,000. And you cannot get those calories from a salad. In the dead of winter, the ground is frozen solid. There are no berries. There are no leafy greens. There are no root vegetables. You are living in a world completely devoid of edible plant life for months on end. You must eat animals. But here is the terrifying biological trap of the Ice Age. Let's say your group manages to hunt down a wild reindeer or a hare. You butcher it and you eat the meat. You are chewing on lean muscle. If you eat enough of it, you feel full. But within a few days, you start to feel sick. You get a headache. You feel incredibly tired. Soon, you experience severe diarrhea. No matter how much lean meat you eat, you constantly feel hungry. Your body begins to waste away. This is a very real, very dangerous medical condition. It is called protein poisoning, or rabbit starvation. The human liver has a hard limit. It can only process a certain amount of protein into energy. If you exceed that limit, toxic byproducts build up in your blood. If you try to survive a winter eating only lean meat, you will literally starve to death with a full stomach. So, what is the solution? Fat. Pure, unadulterated, calorie-dense fat. To an Ice Age hunter, an animal was not a walking steak. It was a walking container of grease. When your group kills an animal, you do not care about the lean muscle. You care about the thick layer of fat on the animal's back. You care about the fatty organs. You care about the brain. But the ultimate prize, the absolute gold standard of Ice Age survival, is hidden inside the skeleton. It is the bone marrow. When archaeologists dig up ancient campsites from this period, they rarely find whole animal bones. Instead, they find millions of tiny, shattered fragments. That is because the people living there were biochemical engineers fighting for their lives. They knew that a bone was essentially a sealed tube of high-quality butter. You take a heavy stone, you smash the long bones of a reindeer or a horse, you scoop out the yellow marrow. But you don't stop there. The ends of the bones, the novli joints, are made of spongy tissue. That sponge is soaked in hidden grease. You cannot just scrape it out, you have to extract it. Which brings us to the actual cooking of the meal. You do not have a metal pot. Pottery hasn't been invented yet, so how do you boil water? You dig a small pit in the ground. You line the pit with a waterproof animal hide, or perhaps the clean stomach of a large herbivore. You fill it with snow, which melts into water. Next to you, a fire is burning. Inside the fire are several heavy round stones. Using sticks or pieces of bone, you pull a glowing red-hot stone out of the fire. You drop it directly into the skin pit. The water immediately hisses and violently boils. You drop in another stone, and another. This is called stone boiling. It is a highly efficient, highly practical way to make soup without a pot. You take those smashed, spongy bone joints, and you throw them into the boiling water. As the water bubbles, the hidden fat melts out of the bone and floats to the top. Your dinner tonight is a thick, gray, greasy broth. What else is on the menu? Maybe you have some dried meat from the autumn hunt. To make it edible, you pound it into a powder with rocks and mix it directly into the boiling fat. But what if the hunt has been bad? What if there is no fresh kill? In that case, you are eating from the Ice Age pantry. Months ago, your group hunted a large animal, but you didn't have a freezer. Instead, you dragged the carcass into a frozen bog or buried it under a pile of rocks in the permafrost. It has been sitting there for months. It is partially frozen, but it is also partially fermented. It has aged. To a modern palate, it would taste sour, sharp, and overwhelmingly pungent. It might even smell like rotting cheese. But to you, it is a delicacy. It is life. The fermentation process actually pre-digests some of the meat, making it easier for your body to absorb the nutrients. Now, look around the room where you are eating this meal. You are not sitting in a bleak, empty cave. You are likely inside a carefully constructed winter shelter. In Central Europe at this time, people built massive, dome-shaped huts out of the bones and tusks of dead mammoths. They covered the bone frame with thick animal hides, packed with dirt and snow for insulation. Inside, the space is incredibly cramped. You are sitting shoulder to shoulder with 10 or 15 other people. The air is thick. There is no chimney, just a small smoke hole at the top. The hut smells intensely of wood smoke, wet fur, unwashed human bodies, and the sharp, metallic tang of animal blood. The firelight flickers against the curved mammoth tusks arching over your head. The sounds of dinner are not the clinking of silverware. It is the wet sound of slurping hot grease from a carved wooden bowl. It is the sharp, rhythmic crack of a stone hammer smashing a femur. It is the low murmur of voices speaking a language that has been extinct for tens of thousands of years. It is messy, it is intimate, it is deeply human. We look back at the deep past and we often see primitive cavemen, brutal and simplistic, but there is nothing simple about this meal. Every drop of grease, every smashed bone, every hot rock dropped into a hide-lined pit represents a profound generational knowledge of human biology and thermal physics. They knew exactly what their bodies needed, and they knew exactly how to extract it from a frozen, hostile world. So the next time you sit down to a hot bowl of soup on a cold winter night, take a moment to appreciate the warmth. And remember the thousands of generations who survived the ice not by eating salads, but by drinking the fat of the earth.